and welcome to Baking with Chickens. I'm Christina, your host, and this is the show where I bake using eggs from my backyard chickens. And today I'm gonna make my matcha ruby chocolate cookies. And you can bake along if you go to my website at bakingwithchickens.com. You can get the recipe and the ingredient list and you can bake along with me. Or if you'd rather just kick back and just watch and enjoy the show, that's totally cool too. So I'm gonna make these cookies, and then while they're baking, I will go up to the chicken coop and take you on a tour, and hopefully you can meet Dude, our new rooster, if he's cooperating. He's been kind of a jerk lately. So this is a live show, so anything could happen. Mr. Baking with Chickens has always wanted to do this, and if you see the behind the scenes I posted on my Instagram stories, our setup is a little ridiculous, and we've gone above and beyond to be able to take a camera up to the chicken coop for you. So please excuse any hiccups if we cut off my unfiltered cursing, because I do curse. So let's get started. If you are just joining, we are making matcha ruby cookies. The recipe is on my website. And to make these cookies, you're gonna need two ingredients. You're gonna need matcha powder and ruby chocolate chips. So I put links in the description below for where you can buy these. I just bought these on well, this one's from Amazon, and I bought these from Trader Joe's last year. But ruby chocolate is a super cool ingredient that is really new to the chocolate scene. And I'm gonna talk more about both of these ingredients a little bit later. So we're hoping we can make this a weekly thing. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you tune in next week where we're gonna make fruity pebble cookies, which are really delicious. Okay, so are you ready? Let's get started with this recipe and bak bak bake. All right, so the first thing I like to do is I like to set up my mise en place. So this is a mise en place, and I know it seems fussy and a lot of extra dishes to do, but this is something that has actually really helped improve my baking. Usually I would just grab everything and scoop and put it all in. And since I started doing a mise en place, I found I make less mistakes, I'm more accurate, and I have less of a tendency to use the incorrect amount because I'm focused and looking at the ingredient list all at once. So the first step for these cookies is I have my half cup or 1 stick of butter at room temp. Room temp butter is really important because as we're creaming and softening the butter with the sugar, if it's not room temp, it's not gonna mix together very well. So I like to cut it up in smaller pieces so that it gets to room temp a little bit faster and it breaks up easier. So here's my half stick of butter going into the stand mixer. Yes?
Cat Apocalypse is excited for the chicken tour.
Excellent. All right, so we're gonna have about 8 minutes while the cookies are baking to go visit the chickens. And you can see, I'll tell you which chicken laid this egg and you can meet the chicken. All right, so I've got my half stick of butter. I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. If you prefer less sweet sugars, you can add less sugar, but it will start to mess with the texture of the cookies, and any less, and it starts to get more cakey instead of like chewy cookie-like. So 1/4 cup granulated sugar, a half cup of brown sugar. On my recipe, I have both in cups and like US measurements and in grams. I really like using grams. That was also something that I really resisted when I was starting to bake because I'm like, no, I like this. I'm comfortable with the cups and the spoon and the teaspoons and the tablespoons. But you know, honestly, using the grams makes less dishes and it's more accurate. So highly recommend it if you are serious about baking and you want to get into it. Grab a scale. Ooh, I'll show you. Haha. Grab a digital scale like this on Amazon. They're really cheap and easy to use. We also use it for our postage. So whenever I ship boxes, we use this and it's more accurate. So, okay, go back in. All right, so now I'm going to cream the butter and sugar together, and this is what gives the cookies its fluffy texture. So here we go. And my KitchenAid is a little squeaky, so please bear with us. right, that looks pretty good. So when you want to cream your butter and sugar, you want it to be nice and melded like this. And then I'll also scrape it, so if there's any butter, yes?
Cat Apocalypse, it's just the hamsters running on the wheels inside.
I know, this is one of my most annoying things about baking is like scraping these whisks and these little things. It's so annoying to me, but I guess it's just a part of baking. All right, so the next step is to add in the vanilla and the eggs. So like I said, room temp butter, room temp egg, really important because the room temp of both of them is gonna help them mix together better. When I used to be lazier about baking, I would just be like, whatever, cold egg is fine. And what happens is you have a mismatch of temperature and it just doesn't blend together as nicely. So this is Pickleberry's egg, so we can go say thank you to Pickleberry for her beautiful egg a little bit later, but she lays these really pretty brown eggs, and this is a large size egg. So US, like, there's a scale of what size eggs, and most baking recipes call for large eggs, which are approximately 53 grams. These are closer to like 60-ish, but that's pretty good. There's like medium eggs, there's large eggs, and then there's jumbo eggs, or extra large, and then super jumbo, which was the double yolker. If you caught our test live episode, we cracked open one of Pickleberry's monster eggs and we got a double yolk egg. Bok bok bouquet, I know that you have one too. So let's crack this open. And here's a tip for you. So when you crack your eggs, you shouldn't, so I would watch my mom do this, right? You should crack them on a flat surface, not on the edge. So my mom would crack them on the edge. And so that's just how I did it all the time. And I never knew the difference until some chef friends told me, no, you crack it on a flat surface so that the shells don't get inside. It's a flat crack instead of the shells going inside. All right, so ready, and here we go. Ta-da! So 1 egg for this recipe and a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. So we're making matcha, but the vanilla is gonna help bring out those flavors a little bit. So ½ teaspoon of vanilla, and then we're gonna mix those together to blend it nicely. And good. All right, I forgot to preheat my oven. So I'm also gonna preheat my oven to 350. There we go. And then, now I'm going to mix my dry ingredients together. So by mixing your dry ingredients together first, it kind of makes it more even. So here we've got 1 cup of flour into a small bowl. We've got a $1/4 teaspoon of coarse salt, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. Ooh, I see a little eggshell in there. I don't know how that got there. A ½ teaspoon of baking soda. Baking soda is what will react with the molasses and the brown sugar to make your cookies light and fluffy. And then matcha powder. All right, so I have 2 teaspoons of matcha powder in here, and matcha powder is made by, yes.
Fact?
Yes, this is a nerdy food fact. Thank you, Mr. Baking with Chickens. Nerdy food fact about matcha powder. So matcha powder is made from ground up young green tea leaves, and there's different grades. The nicest, finest, and most expensive is called a ceremonial grade matcha, and then for cooking we use culinary grade. So it's a little bit less less fine quality than ceremonial, but still super delicious. The link to these is in the description below. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're down there already. But you can buy matcha powder. You know, most Asian grocery stores have it, but Amazon is always a great resource for finding anything. But I like to make matcha lattes in the morning with some oat milk and also baking. If you like matcha, I also just made a matcha pocky cake. So there's a recipe for a matcha cake using this same matcha powder on my website.
Can you show us the powder to this camera?
This camera? There we go. Hey, look, we got multi-cameras, you guys. This is very fancy. So if you don't know, Mr. Baking with Chickens has worked in the film industry for many, many years. He's a really talented indie filmmaker. He had a couple films in Tribeca and what else? South by, yes, award-winning. His stuff is out and you can watch it, but he is totally a camera nerd, and that's why we do these shows, and he's always wanted to do live. So I'm glad that we could make his dream come true today. So matcha powder, in it goes, and then
Apocalypse says loves matcha.
Yeah. You know what I love is when I was a kid, I would go to these sushi restaurants or Japanese restaurants, and then for dessert, I'd order the green tea ice cream. And it was always this really dark, like grassy, bitter ice cream. And I don't know, like I haven't found that. Like I love matcha and I love the matcha ice cream now, but it tastes watered down. It's not the same as like when I was a kid and you had that like super bitter. So I added a little extra of matcha powder to get that bitter flavor in here. So it's reminiscent of my favorite matcha ice cream from when I was a kid. All right, so now that I've mixed my dry ingredients together, I'm gonna add the dry into the wet and slowly, and then I'm gonna mix it on low, because if I mix it on high, I'm going to end up with a giant cloud of flour, and we don't want that. So, all right, mixing. There we go. So just enough so that it's combined and not too much, so we're over mixing the dough. And then I'm gonna finish it by hand. So, here we go. Yeah, this is my most hated part, scraping. And then I'm not really a whisk licker. That sounds dirty and wrong. Oh, Miles is here. Mr. Baking with Chickens, will you let in Miles? So Miles is our dog, and we trained him to ring a bell. Like we have bells hanging on our door when he wants to come in and out. But it's been great because we know when he wants to go out, but it also sucks because it's just like ding, ding, ding all day, in, out, in, out. Because, you know, he's a dog.
Oh, we've got Michelle Marquez.
Hi, Michelle.
She said, hi, Christina and Chicken Daddy. This looks so fun. Love nerdy food facts. And then we have a Bok Bok Bouquet, which is, we always feel like we are legit watching the Food Network. You guys totally be on there.
Hey, if you know anyone, pitch
Michelle Marquez asked, what if you added wheatgrass juice?
Oh.
It might get the bitter grassy flavor.
Oh, yes. I guess that would, because it's a liquid, you'd have to adjust it. That would affect the chemistry of the bake if we added wheatgrass juice, because there is the only liquid in these cookies are that coming from the eggs. So we would have to adjust it to account for that liquid, unless there was like a wheatgrass powder, because then it's a dry ingredient and it wouldn't affect the chemistry of the bake. But interesting. I don't think I've ever seen wheatgrass cookies before.
You see a little bit of Miles?
Interesting idea. Oh yeah, want to say hi to Miles? Miles Woo. Such a good boy. Here, I'm gonna give you a kiss, because you're so cute. Oh, buddy. Love you.
Miles, up here. Okay.
Okay, that was enough now. So that's our dog, and he loves eating chicken poo. It's like candy to him. So everyone always asks if he gets along with the chickens, and like, they're just kind of here. They don't mind him. He doesn't mind them. There was one point where he was just sneaking into the chicken coop constantly to like eat chicken poo when we weren't looking. And then his farts were heinous, heinous farts. So he doesn't do that anymore.
Oh, Oh yeah, but you could put it in ice cream, Michelle.
Ah, yes. Mr. Baking with Chickens, aka Chicken Daddy, is the ice cream master of the two of us. He has his super secret ice cream base that he will not let me share with you guys. So maybe if you are nice and give him enough compliments, he might one day do a special ice cream episode for you because his ice cream is amazing. So, all right, so if you're just joining us, I'm making matcha ruby cookies, and while these are gonna bake in the oven, I'm gonna take you up to the coop to give you a tour of the chicken coop and meet the chickens and do the rooster. So, all right, let's see, we are preheating over there, and I've got my ruby chocolate. Hey, nerdy food fact! All right, so ruby chocolate. So I scored these ruby chocolate wafers from Trader Joe's last year when they were selling them. They were like the best deal ever for like $3 for a bag because ruby chocolate is really expensive, and I'll tell you why. Oh, see, Miles, dinging constantly. So ruby chocolate is the latest of chocolate innovation to come out in like, I don't know, for a very, very long time. So it came out in 2017, so very recently, and it was discovered, patented, and now sold by the Callebaut, I don't know, whatever. It's a Belgian chocolate company, and they produced these ruby chocolate out of ruby cacao. So this is not white chocolate colored pink. It's naturally pink from the ruby cacao, and it has it's like a fruity, raisiny type flavor. It's sweet, like white chocolate is sweet, but this is different. Like there's a fruity quality to it that like raisin is just the best way I can describe it. But they pair really well with the matcha flavors. And you know what? If you can't find ruby chocolate chips, what is it? Choco Love, that chocolate bar company sells ruby chocolate bars. You can buy one of those and just chop it up into chunks and use it in those cookies. Use it in these cookies. That works out really well. Or if you can't find them or they're really like insanely expensive, you can just use white chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate chips. No big deal. It's all gonna taste good, I promise. All right, so I have my ½ cup of ruby chocolate chips here. I'm gonna pour it in. And I'm going to hand mix them with my spatula. So you could use the stand mixer, but I don't know. I just kind of like mixing by hand. It makes me feel good. Like I know what's happening with the dough. I can feel it. I can feel the texture. I'm kind of like that with my pie crust too. If you've ever watched my perfect pie crust recipe, I'm the weirdo person who actually likes to use a pastry cutter and hand cut my butter into the flour because I feel like I can feel the dough better. I know what's going on. I can sense like, you know, is it the right consistency? Is it the right texture? And perfect pie crust. All right. Yes.
You want to show them the ruby wafer chop?
The fruity.
Close up?
Yeah, let me show you. Okay, so this is inside. Mr. Baking with Chickens would like me to show you the ruby wafers close up. Do you want inside or in a bowl? What do you want?
In a little bowl.
In a little bowl. Okay, there you go. So, there you go. All right. Okay, so if you were making these at home and you had time, now would be a good time to chill the dough. By chilling your dough, it's a really good tip too for cookies. It just helps the flavors meld together and it gets the consistency right for scooping. But because we're in a live show and I'm gonna keep moving, I'm just gonna scoop the cookies now because they're still gonna be fine and yummy. All right, so in a cookie sheet, I use a silicone baking sheet. Lined, or if you have parchment paper, lining it with parchment paper is another really good option. I do not recommend lining with foil or, you know, when I was a kid, we would just grease the pan and call it a day. But we have innovation and technology now that makes baking easier. So these Silpats are fantastic. You can buy them on Amazon, pretty cheap, or parchment paper is another favorite.
Michelle asked, does Trader Joe's still sell the ruby chocolate?
I did not see them this season. So Michelle wants to know, does Trader Joe still sell the ruby chocolate? I did not see them this season. I did go looking for them. I don't know why, probably because of the I don't know, they probably didn't have a supplier, but I didn't see them. But whenever I do see them, buy them and stock up. So these are from last year, and like they've lost some of their pink like the pink color actually. They're a bit duller than they used to be, and you can see like it's starting to kind of get that white part on the chocolate, but it tastes fine.
Cord.
Cord? What?
Yeah.
Hey, Cord.
Oh, Miles, our dog loves the chickens around too.
Yeah, chicken poo is like crack for dogs. It's disgusting. All right, so here's another great tip for making cookies. Invest in these scoops. I mean, people say ice cream scoops. These are cookie scoops. This is a 1.5 tablespoon cookie scoop from OXO. OXO is my favorite brand, and you know, I've gone through and I'm always cheap and I don't want to spend money on equipment, but honestly, like now I just buy OXO stuff because you know what, the quality is good, the ergonomics are good, and they last. So cookie scoop. So cookie scoop. Ooh, yeah, this would be a lot easier if it was colder, but it is what it is. All right, so cookie scoop, drop them on the pan into little things. Oh, and then if you want to make these ahead and freeze them, that is my favorite tip. So you can scoop these cookie balls just like this, and you can like put them onto a sheet a little bit closer and then pop them in the freezer and then freeze them until they're hard, and then just store them in an airtight container until you're ready to bake. Then you've got your own break and bake whenever you want. It's brilliant and it's totally genius, and that is how I ended up making 600 cookies for the Bakers Against Racism bake sale, because there was no way I was making 600 cookies in a day. So I had to freeze them and then I would bake them in batches. But it's also brilliant because, you know, I don't always want to have that many cookies, but if I want 1 or 2 fresh baked cookies, that's how we do it. Right. So, any questions right now as I'm standing here scooping? Anything you want to know? Let's see.
Mitch is here.
Mitch. What's up, Mitch?
Go, Christina and Dustin.
Is that Christy?
Yeah.
Hi, Christy. So can we all give a round of applause to Christy? She is a teacher here at LAUSD, and she is absolutely amazing because she has been working very hard to teach. She's a first grade teacher, so she's teaching a class of kids virtually, and it is so hard. So round of applause for Christy Stewart, who is a hero and a teacher for our kids.
Michelle says, OXO consistently wins product testing on the America's Test Kitchen show. I love that.
Yeah, OXO's a good one. Yeah, their stuff is just so good. We have, what was it, one of the episodes, I think it was the s'mores. I was making the s'mores bars, and I was trying to open a can of condensed milk that would not open, and it was such a... It's really funny. You should watch it. I'm literally struggling trying to open this thing with a cheap-ass can opener. And finally, we just bought this OXO one, and like we threw it away and we just did it. I mean, we're not sponsored by OXO. OXO, please. I love you. Give me stuff. I'll talk about you all day. But like, we've gone through so many can openers, and Dustin bought this one that was highly rated, and it was a piece of shite. This one, OXO. Amazing.
Oh, my starter spatula is awesome.
What?
My spatula that I just bought.
Oh, your starter spatula, yes.
Exciting.
Okay. All right, so we've got...
Yum Day. Ooh, break and bake. Yes,
hey,
brilliant.
Yum Day, Leah from Yum Day. Hey, if you want to listen to a really cool podcast recommendation, check out Leah's podcast. It's on Spotify and everywhere you can get podcasts. It's called Every Day is Food Day, and every episode talks about a different food holiday. So check it out. Really fun. If you're really into my nerdy food facts, Leah's podcast is one you'll love too.
Oh, and Mallory says, so smart, always ready for the cookie cravings.
Awesome.
Chrissy Stewart said, thank you, and your cookies make teachers happy.
Aww.
Win-win friendship.
That's so sweet. All right, so I've got my cookies. I placed them apart. So these are good. Make them apart. And then I'm going to pop them in the oven to bake for about 9 to 10 minutes, and we're going to go visit the chickens. Okay, so I'm going to do 10 minutes, and let's go visit the chickens. Here, let's feed them some worms. Hey guys. Who wants worms? You want worms? How do we do this? Okay. Okay, guys. Ah! Ow! You guys. Here you go. Here you go. There you go. So I'm giving them some mealworms because chickens love mealworms. I know, it looks kind of gross. Like, here's what they look like on the inside. Eat, but they like it. Here, you want some? Here. Here. Here you go. Here you go. All right, let's check for some eggs, huh? Butters. Hi, Fizzies. Sweetheart. Okay. So this is Fizzleberry. She was really sick the other day, but she's feeling better. And here's Mr. Dude Man. Mr. Dude. He's been such a jerk. So, I don't know. He's still not really eating. He's doing really well. So he's a rescue rooster. We rescued him just around Christmas time, and we adopted him from the LA shelter. The shelter gave him a clean bill of health and said, like, oh, he's fine, take him home. But when we got him home, he was so sick. He was like close to death. He had a really bad respiratory issue. I think he had digestion issues because he wasn't eating, and he's still not really eating enough on his own. He's extremely skinny, but he's a little teenager chicken, so he's not fully grown yet, but he will. Oh, where are you going, bud? He's feeling shy. But yeah, he's been a little love. It's just extra work, but he's worth it. And this is Pickleberry. She's the one who laid the egg today that went into our cookies. So thank you, Pickleberry. Thank you for laying your eggs. And here's Leelaberry. Yes. Yes, I can hear you. We have sound. Oh, good. Excellent. Okay, cool. So here's Leelaberry. Hey, and you know, we're going to check for eggs in a second. And I saw Leelaberry in the nesting box today. So you guys might be able to see Leelaberry's very first egg. Maybe? Maybe? We'll see. We'll find out. Okay. All right, let's find out. Fizzleberry, excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Come on. Come on, Fizzleberry. So chickens are kind of funny. So like look, so she's a bearded chicken. She has a little beard, but not all chickens have beards. Olgaberry has one too. She's very cute. See? Yes. You're very cute. She's our oldest. We've had her for the longest, and her best friend died a little bit earlier this year, Raspberry, the black and white chicken, which was very sad. So chickens have best friends. So Olgaberry's best friend was Raspberry, and Fizzleberry here has a best friend. Where are you? The loud honky one that sounds like a goose. Butterberry. Yes, Butterberry, we hear you. So Butterberry is her best friend, and they hang out together all the time. They fight, they do their thing. But Butterberry's kind of jerk. I don't know, she's turned into a jerk. And then here's Leelaberry, who laid our egg, and the giant monster egg. She's a Rhode Island Red, which is known for their egg production. But she came with one of the fuckity cloths with Burrito Berry and Snozberry. Hey, dude. So that one is Burrito Berry over there, and Snozberry is in the corner over here. Where are you going? All right, we're gonna check for eggs. Woo-hoo. Okay. All right. What do you think? Will we be able to see a Leelaberry egg?
This would be the first.
I know. I'm so excited. I checked this morning because I wanted to save it for this moment. Okay. Ah, there it is. This one. That's Leelaberry's egg.
Oh, it's big.
It's so cute. Oh my God! Look at how cute it is.
Big for such a small little body.
So, okay, so chickens. Just making all this noise. All right, so chickens lay eggs at their peak age with everything under good conditions. They're of the right age. The sunshine is good. Their health is good. They lay one egg a day. And chickens only have one hole. So they don't have a vagina. They have something called the cloaca. Cloaca? C-L-O. H-A-C-A. And it's one hole, 2 tubes. So their poop and their eggs come out of the same hole, but it has 2 tubes going into it. And this is like the equivalent of pushing out a baby every single day. Hey, look! This one's a fizzleberry egg. So you can see the size difference. So this is kind of cool. The Leelaberry's egg is like a white, creamy color. Hi, Butters. Butter doesn't like this. She's a freeloader. Yeah. Okay, and then we have these eggs. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, I should have got my egg basket. That's what I meant to do. But okay, so this brown one is Pickleberry's egg. This big, creamy, white pink one is Burrito Berry. This little small one is, it looks just like burritos, but it's smaller, is Snozberries. The blue egg is from Fizzleberry, and this one right here is Leelaberry's very first egg, and I am so excited you guys could all be here to witness and experience Leelaberry's first egg. So she's now a woman, and that means dude is gonna try. Hi, Leelaberry. Hey, look it, it's your egg. Look, you laid an egg. That's so exciting. She doesn't care. All right, so we should probably go back down and check on the cookies before they burn, because that is very likely. So, all right, I'm gonna get our stash of eggs, and we're gonna head back down, and we're gonna talk about eggs. So I don't know if Mr. Baking with Chickens can see. I'm gonna take that now. Any questions? So if you have any questions about the chickens.
Yeah, I've fallen behind.
So I'm going to try to answer some commonly asked questions, and we'll go back down and we'll talk about that as we wait for cookies to cool. Okay.
Yeah, we'll take care of the backlog of comments.
So a question I get a lot is, how do you know, or like, where do the different colored eggs come from? So how do the chickens make these different colors? So in their reproductive system, in their like ovum, they have something it's kind of like an inkjet printer. So all eggs, with a few exceptions, start out white inside the body. So they basically have their little ovum that comes out to the egg yolk, it spills, and then their body creates the shell around it. And a shell is all calcium. So they have to eat calcium in their feed or in the form of crushed oyster shells to make their egg shells. And when it's being created in their bodies, it will then kind of like an inkjet printer put the color on the egg. And the breed of chicken determines what color the egg is. So you're probably most used to seeing white eggs or brown eggs in the grocery store. And the reason for that is most commercial chicken that already ask for that breed or leghorns or the white eggs are from leghorns. Now, whew, that's Miles. Okay, we're back in the house. We made it, you guys. Woo! All right, so I had my egg basket already, and I did not bring it up. Okay. Hiya. Here we go.
Go around to the front.
Look at this. I'm hanging to get my apron. Okay. All right, we got audio. We got my apron back. Uh-oh. Cookies are done. Did they burn? Oh no, we burned them a little. That's okay. Okay, let's see. All right, so we were up there a little bit long. We burned the cookies just a little, but they'll still taste good. It's okay. And so you'll see from the cookies, here, let me put this on. Okay. So you'll see my cookies are a little bit flat now, and they mix together. And the reason, what?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm just letting Miles in. This camera's just on the stove.
Oh. Sorry, guys. Live show, animals everywhere. All right, so the reason these cookies are a little bit flat and they melded together, so they're not perfect cookies, but I think that's good because now I can tell you why and what happened. So you can learn from these mistakes. Okay, so the reason why is because I didn't chill the cookies. That is a really good way to kind of get the nice cookie shape, is to chill your cookie dough, because the colder it is, it's not going to spread as much. So cookies spread because of two things: butter and or sugar, and both. So the more sugar you have, the more it spreads. The more butter you have, the more it spreads. The less butter, the less sugar, it's going to be more cakey like. So because we overbaked them because we were visiting the chickens for a little bit too long, and because I didn't take a second to chill them. So normally in this recipe, you're supposed to chill the cookie dough for about 30 minutes before baking. I didn't do that, and so that's why they're a little bit runny, but they're still gonna taste good. Whatever, I'm not a perfectionist like that. So we took them out, and I'm gonna let them rest on the hot pan to kind of continue cooking a little bit before moving it onto a baking rack. All right, so now is a good time for questions as we wait for these cookies to cool. What do we got? What did we miss while we were up at the chicken coop?
Okay.
Yay.
Dan, if I send you $50, will you send me 4 of those cookies and Miles Woo Woo?
I think shipping for Miles Woo Woo would be more than that. And if you want to be responsible for his medical costs, which are upwards of several $100s a month at this point, between his medication and his needs to have his belly drained, sure. Yeah.
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 We'll just send it anyways and we'll keep Miles.
Yeah, you can be responsible for his end-of-life care because unfortunately Miles has congestive heart failure. He's about 8 years old now, and we found out that he has, like, the valves in his heart don't work as well. So unfortunately, it's just a matter of managing his comfort at this point. But he's a big dog. I don't know. He's 8. He's had a good life. He was supposed to die when he was at the shelter, and we saved him on his kill day. So he's had a much longer, happier life than he had originally intended. So he's a good boy.
Young Day said, thank you for sharing Every Day is a Food Day podcast, and said, Foodie Nerds Unite.
Yeah, Foodie Nerds Unite. You know, that's what I love about eating chickens too. Like, I try in all my blog posts and all of my episodes to try to share something that you maybe didn't know about food or cooking, because, you know, we just kind of go through and we don't think about where things come from or the effort. And that's the whole point of baking with chickens, right? I wanted to share. We bake, we love these yummy goods, but what about the chickens that provide us with these eggs that go into it, right? You know, I see people waste eggs. You know, you throw them, you egg cars with them when you're a kid, one drops, oh, oops, oh well. But once you start to really understand where your food comes from, you gain a much different appreciation for what it takes to make that food, so you're not gonna waste it. You know, like, chickens are little creatures, and the amount of effort it takes for a hen to create an egg in their body and push it out of their butt, I think that's incredible. And that's why, you know, we try not to waste it. I also, like, you'll see me here, like, I save all of our eggshells, and the reason why is because I'll crush them up and feed it back to them so that they can make eggshells with them again. So I used to just throw them away when I would bake. I'd buy them from the grocery store, I would throw them away, and I'm sure many of you do too. But now I make a bigger effort to save them because I give them to the chickens. If you have a garden, if you like to garden, these are also really great for your garden and your plants. You can crush them up, sprinkle them around your plants so you can give them calcium. They help prevent slugs and snails. My other favorite fact you can do with eggshells is boil them with your coffee. So if you're making coffee, just throw in a clean washed eggshell in with your coffee, and there's a chemical reaction with the calcium in the eggshells with the acidity of the coffee to make your coffee less acidic. And it totally works. So it just kind of takes that, like, acid bite out of your coffee. But pretty cool.
Kudos to Michelle. We had double sound going on because the iPhone sound is still going.
Thank you, Michelle. Michelle
also has a question.
Yes.
Do they get mad when you take their eggs?
No. Okay, so do chickens get mad when I take their eggs? No. So you saw from the nest box that the chickens laid it and they just kind of walked away. And I can just take them. Now a chicken will get angry if they're broody. So a broody chicken is a hen that wants to be a mom. So usually around this time, like spring, early summer, and certain breeds have a higher proclivity towards broodiness than others. They want to lay on their eggs and hatch them. So a hen, a female chicken, will lay eggs regardless of whether or not there's a rooster. They're just like a woman has a period, right? Gross, I know, but that is what it is. They're going to lay an egg no matter what. So if you don't have a rooster, they'll be unfertilized eggs and they're never going to turn into a baby chick. They will never hatch no matter what you do. And so we just eat them, not a waste. When there is a rooster will mate with the hens and potentially fertilize the eggs. So these could be fertilized eggs over here since we have dude. But in order to create a chick, you have to sit on it and keep it at a certain temperature consistently for like, I think it's like 20 something days. And that's when it'll hatch into a chick. So a broody hen wants to sit on eggs to hatch them into chicks. So if you see a hen and she's like on the nest and she's all fluffed up, and then you stick your hand in and she'll just make a screaming noise. So my favorite, actually, oh my God, this is perfect. Okay, so my favorite broody hen sound is Lulu. So I don't know if Teddy from Therapy Chickens is here. So Teddy from at therapy_chickens is hilarious. She lives in Washington and she has this flock, and this is her chicken Lulu, who is my favorite. Like, I don't even have photos of my niece or family, anything on my fridge. I have a photo of Lulu because there's this hilarious video of Lulu where you reach your hand in and you open the nesting box and she goes, "Ah!" like a little dinosaur. So that's a broody hen. And they get angry that you want to take their eggs away because they want to hatch them into chicks. So, sorry, that was a very long, circuitous answer to your question, Michelle, but I hope you learned a little bit about chickens and eggs. So you can kind of get them away. You have to like shoo them away and then you take their eggs. But a broody, so this is kind of, I love Lulu. She's just so funny. And like, I saved this video of her screaming whenever I have a bad day, just so I can watch it and laugh. I'm gonna share it on my Instagram stories so you guys can see it, because it is just the most hysterical, funny thing I've ever seen.
One more thing?
Yeah.
Before you put those shells away?
Oh, yes.
Mallory says, yes, they work so hard for those. Do you ever feed their eggs back to the chickens?
Ah, yes. So, okay. So this was a hot issue on my TikTok. So I posted a video about me making them like a chicken snack and putting eggs in, and everybody on TikTok was like, what, chicken cannibalism? How, like, you're feeding eggs to chickens? Yeah. They're actually really nutritious. They're full of protein. They're really good for the chickens. And honestly, chickens don't give a fuck. They will eat it. They love it. They love eating eggs. So the best way to do it is to cook them and give them scrambled eggs so that they're not eating raw eggs. Because if a chicken is eating raw eggs, they might get the idea that they can eat their own eggs, and you don't want an egg-eating chicken. That's very bad, because then you don't get eggs to eat for yourself. But yes, so I actually mix in raw egg with Dude's food. So right now I have to hand feed Dude because he's not eating enough. So I make him these little torpedo pellets, and I mix in egg as the liquid and the binder to hold all of his food together. I don't make it a habit to feed it to the hens, but I give it to them if they need an extra boost of protein. So times when chickens need protein are when they're molting. So molting means they're losing their feathers and they regrow new ones. And feathers are made of like all protein. And again, it takes a lot for their little bodies to process all this protein to grow new feathers. So feeding them extra protein like the eggs or mealworms are high in protein, that is a great way to give it back to them. I should wash my hands before I touch these cookies, because I touch chickens.
We have a question from Chelsea. Any ideas for what to do with overbaked cookies? A crumble, etc.
Oh yeah, I mean, Chelsea, just eat them. I'm gonna eat these. They're fine. I mean, like if they're overbaked like this, like they're a little crispy, but they're fine. I'm just gonna eat them. If they are like, where's my thing? If they're like crispy, like burnt, I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on like how burned are we talking? Like a little burned. I mean, I think you can always crumble them and put them as ice cream toppings. You can, I don't know, what do you think, Mr. Baking with Chickens? How would you use them? You're good at this.
If they're burnt?
Yeah.
Whew.
I mean, sometimes you can't save it. It just is what it is.
If they're burnt on the bottom, like if you don't mind the labor, just scrape off the top and turn it into a pie crust.
Oh, cookies? I don't know about. Oh, yeah, that's true. You can use a cookie crust. Oh, that's a good idea. If they're a little burnt and not inedible, you can let them dry, let them cool, and then crumble it, and then just make yourself like a cookie crust for like cheesecake. What is it? Like a tart. It might be really sweet though, so you might have to cut it with like graham crackers so that it's not so sugary. But that's a good idea. Ooh, cheesecake cookie crust sounds good, huh? I haven't made cheesecake yet. Yeah. So I was making these cookies for Drysdale flock, but I might have to redo these because these are not sufficient. All right, but I'm just gonna eat it. Okay. Yeah. So they taste really good. Really dark. Super grassy matcha. I love warm cookies. Is there anything better than like a warm cookie out of the oven? Oh, they're so good. Okay. If you want to do like an extra level of awesome on these cookies, sprinkling some flaky sea salt on it would be really good. Man, these are a mess. All right, so for our first live, these cookies did not turn out very well, but that is okay because you know what? Mistakes happen. It's okay. I've made these cookies so many times and they've turned out perfect, and you know what? They just effed up this time. It happens. Whatever. It's okay. Don't get discouraged. Just keep on baking. That's what Bok Bok Bake is all about. It's kind of like, oh shit, something happened. Oh, well, Bok Bok Bake. Let's just keep going. We learn from our mistakes and we just keep going. Because that's what life is about. It's about learning from your mistakes and just continuing to move forwards, right? Like, what did we learn from this? Like, why did the cookies spread? Why did they do this? Because I didn't chill it. So if you take the time to chill your dough, they won't spread like this. All right. So that is the end of our episode. Thank you so much for joining the first live episode of Baking with Chickens, you guys. This is huge. I hope you liked it. Next week, we're gonna make fruity pebble cookies, which I hope won't burn and will turn out better than this. If you like this, please share, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And yes, Mr. Baking Chickens.
One more question from Heidi. Love the egg skelter. We have the same one. Have you ever shared what a skelter is for?
Okay.
And I think this is a good opportunity to explain the definition of the word skelter.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
We all know the song.
Helter Skelter?
Yes.
Do you know? You want to tell the story?
Well, there's not really a story. The word skelter has to do with order. Keeping in a certain order. And so that's why helter skelter, everything's out of disorder.
Interesting.
That's an egg skelter.
To keep it in order. Look, I learned something new today. A skelter means to keep things in order. So this is an egg skelter. I keep my eggs out on the counter because fresh eggs have a natural bloom layer on them. So when you go to the grocery store, they're in the fridge, and you store your eggs in the fridge because they've been pasteurized. And pasteurized means they wash your eggs in an antibacterial solution, and they wash off the chicken's natural bloom layer that is on the eggs. So nature already has this covered. So when chickens lay their egg, there's a little bloom layer that kind of envelops the egg, and it protects it from bacteria on the outside. So when I collect my eggs, I just put it in here, and then I just rinse it off right before I use it. They're totally fine on the counter. They don't go bad. They're good for a few weeks. You can do a float test. Maybe next week I'll show you a float test for eggs. Stay tuned. But I just stick them in here. So this egg skelter is a great way to store my fresh eggs, and I know the order of where they came, right? Because if I just put them all in this basket, I don't know which is the new eggs versus the old eggs. And if you've ever worked in a restaurant, FIFO, first in, first out, you want to eat the oldest before you eat the newer ones. So whenever we pull eggs, I pull from the bottom, and then these just kind of roll down in a thing. So egg skelter, skelter, order, helter skelter. Very cool. So that is it for this live episode of Baking with Chickens. Thank you, everybody, and bok bok bake. Miles. Oh, this dog.